TradeMutt Radio, coming through on your wires.
Oh, and we're back. Oh, I got pointed at multiple directions. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of TradeMutt Radio. We are very lucky to have a new guest in the studio, one that we've had a few dealings with over the last couple of years.
He's been in here before.
He has been here before. We've been on his podcast, and now he's on ours. So it's good to be able to pay it back. And he started a new gig full-time, Humans of Ag, which is a media company. It's new. We're going to hear all about it. And our guest today is Oli Le Lievre. And I've said that correctly, haven't I?
Nailed it.
You little beauty. Oli, welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be here. Thanks, fellas.
It's a pleasure to have you. So it looks a bit different since the last time you were in here.
Yeah, I think we were like in the darkness, on couches.
Yeah, we're on the little seedy couches here in the corner.
Yeah, you were just talking about my big toe on that painting over the wall there, which was a bit weird, but anyway.
Have you got a camera angle just on that? Or
No, thankfully.
That's taken straight off a photo. So
yeah, it's come up really well. Big sassy Kieran, he's done a great job there. But he was a bit concerned about the frame, but we like it. It's a bit...
the frame's the best part about it,
I reckon
to be
so
honest.
too. It adds a lot of value because what's on the painting is fucking horrific. So we look shocking. But Oli, mate, thanks for coming in. We missed each other in Sydney on Monday. So we were both down there for the Grain Growers Innovation Conference having a chat. So were you presenting, or did you were on a panel, or what did you...
Yeah, so I was literally, I had the easiest job I reckon. I spoke for all of 2 minutes, a quick soak, and then yeah, had a little bit of a debate. So
what was the debate about?
It was actually bloody interesting. So it was, we had a team for and against, obviously, as you do in a normal debate. But yeah, 6 kind of some industry leaders, some kind of up and comers, and it was that the topic was the consumer's always right.
Oh yeah, I saw about this on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so no, it was
which side were you on?
Mate, I was just introducing people.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah,
You were moderator.
proper on the fence.
Okay.
Timekeeper.
So who won?
Had a few roles. Well, I don't know. It was kind of a draw, actually.
Geez, you moderated well.
If you had to pick a side, which one would you go with?
Jeez, you're making me pick, aren't you? I don't know. Like it's an interesting one because God, there are a few points that like blew my mind. So in the team against, so it's basically that when it comes to the right to farm in Australia, the consumer is always right, and as the ones who wear or buy your product eat it, what they say and do kind of really influences you. And there's one of the points was in the against that the consumer is definitely not right, was that marketers are actually right, and this part like blew my mind. And it was saying, so in circa 2002, a little footwear company, Crocs, was launched, and the product was shit. The product was the same as what it is now, but it didn't go anywhere. 20 years later, every influencer wants it. They've now got their own little feature parts of shoe parts. $2.6 billion in sales. The product hasn't changed, just the way that it's been marketed has. And so it was really interesting that, marketing's got a huge role to play.
Well, they talk about how...
That's good to hear. There's hope for TradeMutt yet.
Yeah, hey, stick with us, listeners. No, like milk, right? And this could be wrong. Someone will have to fact check this, but something about like milk when they were, because no one was drinking milk, right? Like, we need people to start consuming milk. So they're like, righto, drink it for like strong bones, and like you need it for like all this. You need calcium, like you need to be drinking milk, right? So everyone started fucking drinking milk and saying that had to be part of a balanced diet, which it never originally was. But marketers said, you got to start drinking milk. It's important for you to start doing it. So that's like the growth of actually like the milk industry, because it never used to be a fucking thing. You know what I mean? So it is the way marketers have put it. It's the same with like eggs, like having fucking it's really interesting. 100%.
Fucking dirt scrubs for your face. Surely they do nothing. That's really good for you. You need this.
Yeah, I know.
You always talked about getting mud from the what's the river that runs through Longreach?
Oh, the Thompson River.
Yeah, the mighty Thompson.
Hey, that was another. Fuck, we've had some business ideas over the years.
What, you bag it up and
sell it, mate. Fucking influencers. Oh yeah, it's great for your skin. Stick it all over your head. Fuck, put it on Instagram. Get it around you. Anyway, mate, tell us about the Humans Bag, because you were doing it. Obviously, I was on the podcast. We were both on the other episode of the podcast together. And it was sort of like your side hustle, as everyone calls things these days. But now it's your full-time gig. So tell us, what is Humans of Ag and what are you up to?
Yeah, so, Humans of Ag started a few years ago, 2019. And I guess, full disclaimer, I'm a city boy, grew up in Sydney, but kind of fell in love with ag from a young age and just always had this like affinity, wanted to be a farmer growing up.
And how did that happen?
So mum's family were farming.
Okay.
So they farmed down in Western Victoria.
WD.
Yeah.
Must be very nice.
Wow, probably like right on the
Oh, yeah.
edge of it.
Yep.
So it is very nice. And yeah, kind of just, it always felt like home. I was lucky to spend school holidays there. Would go back home to Sydney, spend, the school term kind of at home, jump on a plane and head off. So I kind of did that from the age of 12 was the first time I remember jumping on a plane by myself.
Okay.
And I just loved it, like open spaces, chasing sheep, riding motorbikes, the dream. So yeah, that was kind of where the love for ag started. Going through high school, all I wanted to do was just go farming. So that's what I did after school. And then I decided I probably should get a degree. I was probably pressured into it a little bit. You know, you got to fit the norms, go and either do a trade or go and do a degree. So I went down, started a degree, dropped out because it wasn't really what I wanted to do. And then this is a long way.
What were you
to answer
doing?
a
What degree?
question.
No, it's all right, mate. It's a long form podcast. You can fucking scoot around as long as you want. What was the degree?
I was doing ag economics at Sydney.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, not very successfully. I had a little bit of a mowing business on the side, and that was going pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
We talk about all the time. Fuck.
I just want to fucking buy a 0-turn mower and just cut lawn.
Really?
It's so good.
We follow a guy on Insta, Tim the
lawnmower,
lawn
man.
man, and it's fucking. He sets his camera up and he does obviously you got to do the edges first, mate. It's like hypnotic. It's
lawn
so
porn.
nice to watch. It is lawn porn, exactly.
Oh yeah, I do love mowing lawns. It's great. Yeah.
You reckon you could do it full time though?
Well, I mean, I'd give it a go, and it'd be good fun. Like just on a 0-turn mower, mate. Like I drive past parks all the time. I'm like, if I owned a 0-turn mower, I'd actually bring it down here and fucking cut that.
It's probably
just do it because
the Forrest Gump concept.
Oh.
Like, make enough money and you can just cut people's grass for free.
yeah, it'd be so much fun. Anyway, so you got out of the lawn
ag economics at Sydney Uni.
Yeah.
It's a Forrest Gump. Fucking hell. Yeah, so you dropped out of that.
Yeah. So
How did your folks go when you told them you were fucking dropping out of uni?
Oh, they probably I don't know. No, like I had a backup plan. I was going down to Marcus Alden where you were, Rossi, and
Yeah.
so it was actually like the first uni I wanted to go to. Got talked out of it through high school, and then kind of ended up coming full circle. So
Yeah.
When you originally wanted to go to Marcus.
yeah, in like year 9 and 10, I looked at Marcus, put it down as my first choice, and
Who
got
talked you out of it?
Careers advisors.
You're kidding.
Yeah, but I think like ag, and it's probably why I'm so passionate about the industry today is like it's just so misunderstood.
What did they say to you to talk you out of it? What was so bad about it?
Well, they're just like, just go to a generic business degree and then you can go and
Yeah, you're
do something
multifaceted or
from
whatever.
there.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, right.
Because they are more specialised, I suppose. Like it's farm management, agri-business management, or equine business
But
management.
you ended up there anyway and you're paying for both degrees.
Well, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, let's say that.
No, I'm definitely paying for it. Well, maybe it's accruing interest. So there's quite a large figure there that is going up. So technically not paying for it yet.
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so, Marcus, and what did you do there? Did agri?
Yeah, I did agri. So yeah, jumped in, did the first year there. Actually started in second year because I had saved up credits from Sydney. Decided after a week, I was like, no, this place is way too fun. I don't want to do 9 months here. I'll do 2 years. So I dropped back into first year. And then did the first year, headed over to Canada.
Hold on. You decided you wanted to spend more time at college.
Mate, that place was unreal.
Fuck. 1 year there was more than enough. I nearly died there. Mate.
Well, I reckon, by the end of the first year, it was definitely long enough. But a week in, I was like, I don't want this place.
God, you just suck piss fucking 4-5 days a week.
But does anyone actually make it through to the end at Marcus, or does everyone just get kicked out? Like everything I hear,
No, it's actually
there's no
extremely
end.
hard. It's extremely hard. So I just got kicked off campus, but to get actually like kicked out, extremely hard. Well, it was when I was there. It's like you had to be like the only bloke that got kicked off was a bloke that just kept breaking shit, like a bust shit up all the time.
So what did you get kicked off?
I got kicked off college, out of campus.
Here we go.
I mean, it was many indiscretions. You just play a Wednesday night, at formal dinners or whatever, like you just fucking turn into rats because, well, it was just an ag college. Like Wednesday afternoons, they'd give you the last 2 periods on a Wednesday off to study, which no one did. We'd open the fucking pub, everyone would just get laced on goon, and then we'd have like a formal dinner. So everyone was already absolutely spasticated. We'd sit down for this 3-course meal. have that, and then the whole place just turned into it was just a mess. So 160 or whatever it was, people just living together on this campus. There'd be pool balls and shit through windows, fucking couches on roofs, shit set on fire. It was just a.
What does it mean to get kicked? So you get kicked off campus. So you're allowed to come. You're allowed to come to this uni, but you're just not allowed to be here.
I wasn't allowed to. No, I was only allowed to be. I wasn't allowed to be there for any social events or anything.
Oh God, righto.
Yeah. So it was. I had to. Yeah, I got banished. It was me and my other mate. We got kicked off separate occasions, different times, but we were living together.
And obviously, Ollie, you were far better behaved.
Well, I managed to make it through. Yeah. So quite an accomplishment, really.
Mate, nice. Well done. Well done. And then what from that? What did you get into? You were working for...
Oh, I've jumped around in a lot of roles. So, yeah, kind of the beauty of Marcus was that they get you to do work placement as part of your degree. So, jumped in and had a graduate role exporting asparagus of all things.
Delicious vegetable.
Yeah.
I love it.
Makes your wee smell, apparently.
I know, for sure.
Cool. Anyway.
So I did that, and then I joined like an ag tech startup.
Did you marketing? When you were marketing the asparagus, you're like, Australian asparagus makes your wee smell funny. Fucking get it into you.
There you go. Marketers are always right.
Well, I guess like in those Asian countries, it might come with a bit of status. So you go into the cubicle and you're like, geez, he's doing it right. Oh, he must have got a pay grade.
So you were slinging a bit of asparagus, and then because you were at Auctions Plus before, weren't you? Before you started,
most recently before jumping into Humans Vag full time with Auctions Plus, so in the brand content side of that business, which was unreal. Such a huge growth for the business and kind of the perfect storm in terms of what happened in the industry.
So
and then
was that like producing content type scenario or what? And so that's obviously helped to heaps for what you're doing now. The podcast, you do all your own production.
Yep. Yeah, pretty well. So I've got a bloke who's working for me a couple of days a week now, just on the editing side. So I'm just trying to save myself a bit of time. But yeah, coming back, what is Humans Vag? So we're basically a storytelling brand that we think people in agriculture have incredible stories to share. There's a real disconnect between kind of the agriculture industry, rural areas, but also the broader community. About 83% of people say they've got a distant or non-existent connection to agriculture.
Yep.
And I guess for me, like I think ag, the whole industry, what we eat, how we produce it, has a huge role in kind of the future where we're heading. So
totally,
trying to just focus in, share the real stories, real people, kind of find out more about interesting people and share
connect that city country divide.
Yeah, exactly. And I think probably part of it, like as I'm jumping into it more and more, is you start to realize that just some people don't even really care. Like as in, so you really need to kind of focus in on who you're trying to talk to. And so I think at the moment, the part which I'm really trying to address is actually how do I build up and kind of support people in the industry. So I see our role as Humans Vag is actually like coming along, sitting alongside people and going, we've got the platform, you've got the story, let's help you share it in the best way that it can be for you. So it could be a video, it could just be a short little written piece, could be on a podcast. But if we can get the industry feeling a bit more prouder about what they do, being able to communicate it and articulate kind of the real why behind why they're involved in agriculture, what they hope that the influence that they can have on people kind of right across the globe who are wearing Aussie products or eating Aussie products, then I think then we can start to move towards that next piece, which is around really engaging with the community and going, why don't you guys come and have a look at ag, understand a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes and see how we're caring for the environment, how we're caring for animals, etc.
Do you think the fact that you're originally a city boy has actually kind of helped bridge that divide?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, because like as I said, people have pushed me away from ag. Careers Advisor had a huge influence, but I remember like we were playing backyard cricket at Wolfie's place, and a mate of mine who I'd known since 6 years old, they asked what I was doing. Obviously, we put down our uni preferences just before year 12 exams. And I said, I'm going to go do Jackaroo next year. And they're like, and then go and do an ag degree. And they're like, why would you go and do ag? Isn't it just farming? And so I guess that's the piece. The real driver behind me is like, it's not just farming. And now, like, it's just such, the different roles that I've jumped around in, it has just kind of, I've only touched the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, the industry is huge. So
it's massive.
And it seems that there's like, well, what we were talking about yesterday, what you were telling us about with Cam Cranny, and like his interest in regenerative farming.
Regenerative ag, yeah.
And I mean, I've kind of always taken a bit of an interest to like permaculture. I don't really have any, I don't really do it much, but I like the concept of it and would like to know more. But what you were telling me about what Cam's doing is awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's interesting, well, what I'm doing now, and I'm like, it's good having you on for this podcast because like we want to connect more with like rural Australia, right? And because like I feel as though like a pretty big level of disconnect, and I see because I'm from Longreach, obviously, I fucking grew up, and I was only thinking about this before this podcast. Was like I've actually spent more time my working life in the ag sector than any other industry. So like it has been where I've spent most of my working like adult life and obviously growing up. But I feel I haven't been working in the ag industry since 2014. So it's like there's so much that I see from living, in town now where it's like, cattle and methane gas and fucking CO2, it's all an issue, they're blah, 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 blah. Red meat's bad for you, gives you fucking bowel cancer, all this stuff that you just get peddled through like the media. And then I'm obviously really lucky enough to have like a lot of my really good mates that are in ag and like going out and seeing, Cam and his fiance the other day out there managing a place in Mooney. And, last time I was out and saw what Cam did, he was like, building. He was on a building site. Now he's out there and he's showing me like he's growing sunflowers and he's like, that's like regen ag, and he's got like these fucking radishes. I explained to Dan, it's like these massive radishes growing in these paddocks. And he's like explaining to me the reasons why all this is happening. I'm like, this is fucking awesome because it's like, as like the regen ag thing, it's let's make things better rather than try and maintain and sustain, like let's improve. And it's like those sorts of messages aren't getting through to the everyday punter that is eating their steak or having their asparagus and pissing a bit funny. It's like, you know what I mean? Like people aren't hearing what the ag community is doing to actually improve. And it's not obviously the entire ag industry, but I'd say a good portion, and the good operators who are going to survive are doing that. You know what I mean? So we need to be able to relay that and let people know because, fuck, there's some really cool shit happening, right? And you'd be seeing that all the time.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I reckon like probably where we've tried to talk to people is we talk to like, so even just the other day at that grain growers conference, someone at the very beginning was like, "Oh, put your hand up here if you're a grower." And this lady on my table in the industry, but from another country, and she's like, "What's a grower?" And it's like, so we have a certain way of talking in the industry where we use jargon, the type of words that we use to describe ourselves. Like, I could say, "Yeah, I'm a producer," like, but I'm a podcast producer. I'm not a primary producer. Like, I think where the huge opportunity is for the industry is actually how do we talk in like food and fashion.
Terms. Yeah. Okay.
So let's talk about end products and then take people on a journey from that. And that's where I think with Humans of Ag, if we talk about sustainable fashion or sustainable food or whatever that might look like, how's it been produced, but who are the people that have been producing it? And I think that's where the humans part is really important because it's like, how do you humanize it? And then all of a sudden you start to work out the commonalities that farmer or that person consuming actually do care about making sure that the environment is well looked after, that the food's healthy and nutritious for them, that it's meeting their needs. And how do you kind of draw it back to them? And they'll very quickly work out that there's things that they're both very passionate about and there's a lot more in common than they probably have apart. And so you can actually bring people together in a really kind of simple way.
Yeah, and you don't know the stories. And I guess that's exactly what you're doing. Like what you were telling me yesterday about Cam and what he was doing, like that was super interesting to hear about the radishes. But we also went out to a cotton farm. When did we go out there? 2 years ago?
Pre-COVID.
We were doing some cotton Australian grown shirts, T-shirts. We went out to the cotton farm where it was happening and talking to the farmer, and he was like just explaining to us so passionately about how he plants his crops.
Oh yeah, that's right.
However far apart.
His rows,
his rows, because when you can save X amount of water, for however much cotton you're growing, and it's like, and he was so proud of like his systems
and doing good.
Yeah, doing good. And it's just really interesting. Like you don't even ever consider that side of things until you kind of go out and see it yourself or hear the stories direct from the farmers.
Because all you hear is like the Cubby Station who are just fucking ripping water out of, all the eco. It's just, you don't. Yeah.
You hear the bad news sells.
Of course.
Yeah. But like to your point, the cotton stuff, like we were down at Wagga at a ball the other night. And I think even in industry, we don't really understand kind of just how cool different areas are. So we were there having a beer at a black tie event, and a mate's got this robot that's working on his in his paddocks, just spot spraying crops, and he's like, let me show it. And he's like, oh, the fuck, it's stopped. So then he gets his phone out, starts it up again, 11 o'clock at night, and he's there having beers at Wagga, and back up at North Star, he's got the robot running around the paddock doing the spraying for him. Like the industry is mind-blowing.
Come a long way. Like drones, a lot of drones and stuff being used for like...
it is cool, isn't it? And I suppose, obviously, where the industry has got to go is like automation, because you just can't fucking get people, can you? That's like the hardest thing, and like the automation part is massive, and the tech that's being invested into the ag sector is pretty incredible. Because like obviously when I was at Marcus, the stuff that we were seeing, like just with telemetry or whatever, and just like, because like when I was working the territory, it was 2 full-time ball runners, 5 days a week, both driving, 10, 12-hour days, both in diesel utes, filling up Kubota diesel engines. You got the labour, the 2 cars, the wear and tear on the vehicle, the diesel, plus all of the fucking engines out there that need to be, renewed and fixed up. And now it's all submersibles they're putting down out there. Like I've got a good mate of mine that's out there putting all submersibles down the Barclay, and it's like everything's, the manager just sits there in the morning, is like, oh, there's an issue there, send someone out. You know what I mean? Like all of the innovation that's happening is fucking incredible. And again, no one's sort of hearing about that sort of stuff, right? Everyone just thinks that, the ag industry is all outdated. They're all a bunch of hicks. They're ruining the environment, and you know what I mean? It's really weird.
It couldn't be further from the truth, hey? Like when you actually get behind and below the surface, there's some incredible people. And just like true problem solvers too. It's like the vast majority of people aren't just going, oh yeah, let's just go and do this because it's fun. Like they've got a legit problem and they'll solve that problem. It's like the fundamentals of any good business, hey?
Yeah, totally.
So where's it taken you, like, geographically? You've been around Australia, like, how do you find your humans? Like, how do you find your people?
Yeah, well, so I had like these big old bold aspirations that I want to share 10,000 stories of people from the very beginning. I'm probably tracking, I reckon I'm probably only like 300, so I've got a while to go after like 3 years.
I think the first 1,000 will be the hardest. They'll just start to steamroll after that.
Well, hopefully, we start to get a bit of critical mass off it. But in terms of, since going full-time, I've jumped around a little bit. So, South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, ducked up through Queensland into the Territory a couple of weeks ago. Here in Brizzy now for this week, back to Victoria next week. So, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. It's awesome. Well, I want to change tune a little bit, start talking about some of the key issues that are happening in the ag sector at the moment. We're talking off air about the foot and mouth disease. There's been a lot of stuff in the papers over the last few weeks. Again, sort of mates of ours that are in the ag industry are sort of talking about how big your issue it is, mate. Explain to us. I know it's not your thing. We've just interviewed someone about it. So tell us what foot and mouth disease is and what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, God, I better preface it that I'm not the expert. And I think that's the beauty of what I'm doing is you just find the people that can come in. In terms of foot and mouth disease, so basically it's a sore which works its way out. And so I spoke to Andrew Henderson from SafeMeat. But so foot and mouth disease is a highly contagious disease. It works its way out of the animal through either the mouth, through sores, or through its feet. They basically end up being lame. And the only way to actually control it is to eradicate the animals that are infected with it.
Yep.
In terms of if it has existed in Australia before, back in like 1870s. So it has been in Australia, then it was eradicated. 30 years ago was the last time it was as close as what it is. It was actually in Indo. So
okay.
Yeah, so the Australian government and Indonesian government have got a pretty good track record of actually working together to address it, and they did that 30 years ago, moved it away. But like it exists and it flares up. But for Australia, biosecurity is hugely important to us being able to access trading partners around the world. We're known for producing really high quality food that's safe, that is traceable, and that we can verify that this product is actually what it says it is. So for us, the number one priority is keep the thing out of Australia, because it will absolutely devastate the ag sector if it does get in.
Yeah, so what will happen if it gets in here?
Oh, God, there'll be... well, I think probably the thing which I've learned after talking to people, there is, because it's such an infectious and horrible disease, there has been so much work happening in the back end for decades in terms of if it comes into Australia. So what happens... So what Hendo said to me, it's broken down into a couple of different areas. There's pre-border, which is like how Australians working with like the Indonesian government. Pre-border is also in terms of how they're surveying and keeping an eye on things and people who are travelling overseas. Then there's like a quarantine. And then within Australia, we've got kind of post-border, so the Australian side, and that's where our National Livestock Identification System comes in, which is actually about tracking, tracing animals. And that's twofold. It's one, so we can ensure for our market access that we really are providing safe products, and we can actually verify that into the markets. But then on the flip side too is in the case of something like this coming out, it actually becomes like a contact tracing system and goes, righto, those animals have come in contact with these animals, this is where they've gone. Yep. So exactly what we've seen with COVID. But I guess, the cattle have had an individual tagger for the last 20 odd years. Sheep don't have it, so a little bit more complex. But yeah, I think the thing is, like, it's absolutely alarming, but Australia's so advanced in so many areas that actually I think we've got to put a bit of faith in the system as well that exists, and know that there's some incredibly smart people, that it's not that we've been asleep at the wheel, that if it comes into here, there's going to be, some really sharp kind of distinct actions. So I think the first one that Chendo said was, if it's detected, as soon as it's detected, there's a standstill of all livestock in Australia, nothing moves anywhere, and they work out, righto, where's the infected area, and from that, then they start to implement their plan.
Sorry, you were going to go.
No, you're right.
Because the big concern, right, is because it's for any hooved animal, right? So it's anything with a split hoof, right? Is that how it works? Yeah, because I was talking, to my cousin the other day, and he, used to be on the MLA board and pretty big in the ag sector, and he was saying the big concern is if it gets in like the buffalo or the feral pig population, because those fuckers move far quickly. He was talking about they did a thing up at Tipperary, I don't know how long ago it was, but they caught and tagged 50 pigs or whatever with GPSs, and then they tried to get out there the next day or whatever and shoot them out of a helicopter. And it took them something 3 weeks to track them all down, because one pig did 50 or 60 Ks in about whatever it was, 12 hours. They could just move so far, and the rest of them were all in this thick, heavy, they couldn't get them out of there. They had to get a bow hunter to crawl into one spot to fucking shoot it, because the helicopter knew exactly where it was but couldn't actually even see it because it was so thick scrub. So, you know what I mean? So if it happens within those populations, that's the other really big concern, and obviously because of the vast areas that, occupy Northern Australia, that if that does take place, it could be really hard to sort of, pull it back up, because obviously, down in the Darling Downs, everything's a bit more under control, but up there it's a bit still, Wild West to a degree, right? So that is a bit of a concern, I would say, for a few producers out there, right? Yeah,
exactly. And I think, the black and white of it, if it comes into Australia, it will have devastating impacts. And
it's $80 billion, the CSIRO was saying. It could affect the Australian economy $80 billion.
So I think there's going to be a huge there's going to be a huge economical kind of issue. But off the back of it too, it's all the different complementary services and businesses that come off the back of it. You think if we see it when there's drought, we see it when there's flood, we've seen it when there's bushfires, the mental health and kind of community impacts that happen in rural Australia, they are absolutely devastating. If something like this comes in, yes, there's going to be hugely significant financial challenges, but then we've also got the human cost, and I don't think how do you quantify that? So I think at the moment the kind of trust is that the system is working, and that those who are appointed, in terms of governments and industry, people are working really hard to make sure that it doesn't come into Australia. They're doing as much as they can overseas in Indonesia, but I think it's such a complex area in terms of it could take several years to become under control over in Indonesia.
Really?
Yeah, the vaccination stuff, even if it's in Australia. So what Hendo was saying, so once it comes into Australia, or once it comes into a country, to be able to get your foot and mouth disease free status, you can't have any cases in that country for 3 months. And every time a new case pops up, that 3 months starts again. And that's so that 3 month window is when you can actually apply to say, we're now foot and mouth disease free.
Yeah.
And then from that, then your trading partners can go, we'll reapply to come back into our market. So there's huge flow on impacts, but I think the government's working in Indo in terms of they're managing the borders. I think as long as people are being vigilant, and I think that's where the individual accountability comes in. If you're traveling, whether you're from a farm or anywhere, don't bring food products back and wash your shoes.
Yeah, I think they're even someone who was saying that they're
doing a
buyback of
buyback
shoes.
Scheme, just leave your shoes in Bali, leave them in Bali, and they'll just give you new shoes. Probably Crocs. Who knows? But Australia's got the best biosecurity in the world, right? We've got the best. We're locked up pretty well. So
yeah,
the beauty of being an island, I guess.
You trust it.
It does help.
But also, there must be seeing some of your mates that I've seen sort of posting about it, and whatnot. There must be a lot of fear, and I suppose that disconnect between city and country people. And I guess you see everyone going to Bali at the moment. Borders have just opened up. Everyone's going over partying. And there's be very little understanding of the impacts that it can have to an entire industry and the country as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think that probably speaks to the disconnect between city and country as well, and actually understanding, what goes on out there and the devastating impacts that it could have if you don't take it seriously, right?
Well, I think it's one of the. It's like COVID. Like so many of your armchair experts turn up, and this is one thing that I really didn't want to do through Humans Back. And it's, like when these things pop up, and you're like, I honestly don't know what to say, so I'm not going to say anything. So I sat on it for a few days, and then I was like, right, what can we say? So I just came out with something really basic. But then I was like, okay, let's go and find the experts, the people who have been working on this stuff for years. Let's chat to them. But what I said to Hendo, I was like, talk to me like I know absolutely nothing, because I really don't. So tell me what foot and mouth disease is. Tell me, like, how long has it been on the radar and a concern for Australia? I think there's such an art in communication, and I think when it comes to big issues or anything, like, so much can, if you, like the old idiot's guides, anyone could service a car if they follow the idiot's guide to car mechanics. Like, how do we bring that back to communication when it comes to like these big issues? And I think that was something which I really like noticed through COVID. Hey, was, just tell me the facts, but tell it to me in a simple way that I can understand.
But then it's not, the sad part is it's never going to be that again, because like we were saying yesterday, like we spoke at Henley Homes down in Melbourne yesterday, and there was 2 questions at the end. The second one was something around what was the what was the uplift and call volumes and stuff through COVID and everything like that. And we were like, well, we have had a dramatic increase of calls through to TX for people to get support, which is awesome. And the thing is that was just what was happening then. And the media will continue to fucking put the next issue in front of everyone, because that's that gets the clicks. I wouldn't even, the amount of housing crash fucking articles that I would have seen on news, over the last 3 years, there'd have to be literally tens of thousands of them that have been printed, like housing crash. Now it's interest rates. So it's fucking, it's like, it's obviously it's all deliberate because they want people to click and freak out, and that's the whole thing. It's like, and that's not propaganda, but it's like they want to that's scaremongering, right? Because that's what gets people clicking through. But this, what we need as human beings to, again, it's that human element to make sure, us as a collective community of people are fucking all right and don't have to have these huge highs and huge lows. Is just, we just need simple, straight up and down facts.
Oh, yeah.
And we sadly don't get that. And you see it with everything, like even like climate change, right? People are like, oh, it's fucking all bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And then people are like, it's fucking got to act now. It's all fucked. We're fucked. We know. It's like, righto, well, like renewable energy. It's like when we went up to Kidston the other day, we were asking about renewable energy, and it was like, well, yeah, we've actually got heaps of renewables already in the system. What we don't have is like battery storage.
Yeah, we're producing heaps
and,
of
and we're like, and I'm like, why the fuck do I not, me being like I should know everything, but like, have I not read about that? Why is that not a thing? Like that makes so much sense now, because it's like, it's.
But I reckon that's where, like, as a brand or whatever, if you can connect with people, and this is like, you're never going to be everything to anyone, but like the Daily Oz in terms of how they have been able to decipher news, it's literally go onto your Instagram, Daily Oz, and just within 5 bloody swipes, you can be like, oh yeah, cool, I'm across that enough to be a generalist to know that, it doesn't really concern me.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's where like brands will get like cult followings, is if when people are like, oh, they actually just understand how I want to be talked to.
It's giving it in layman's terms so I can make a decision on how I stand with that, and that's all I need.
Yeah. And if I'm interested, I might hit you guys up, or I might join in the comments or something. So,
totally. Yeah, I think, mate, it's interesting. It's going to be, I suppose it's up to us, our little platforms or whatever, to be able to do that sort of stuff.
The access to information is pretty overloading at times, though, eh? Like, and
there's too much of it.
There is way too much, and like you talk about, mental health and whatnot. I mean, you can dive into the whole social media aspect of it or whatever, but there's just so, like, our brains are evolving so fast now. Like, we just need that constant,
and that is what I've noticed is, like, if I haven't checked like ABC News or whatever for a while, I go back on and check it again.
You like feel disconnected or something? Or you're like,
really?
Fuck, 100%.
100%.
Fox Sports especially. If I check Fox Sports NRL probably 20 times plus a day. Like, I'm
got
on
the
that.
Mail about Scott Prince.
I haven't checked that recently. What's happened there?
God.
Coming for the reunion.
Oh, trio of dips, is it?
Farah, Benji, and Scotty Prince. Anyway, digress. Always Sheensy. He's getting FOMO. Anyway.
But I reckon, well, on that too, like, because knowing that I was coming to talk to you guys, I was like, oh shit, I wonder like what the latest stats are around rural mental health, etc. And I actually found that, like, if it's really hard to find relevant, up to date. Like the top ranking one is stats from 2017, and the last one was 2019, and I was like, oh shit, I don't even know where we're at now. I was like, oh, surely the whatever
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've had like we've got that map. I don't have it in front of me, but we've got like a map of Australia where calls have taken place to TX over the last financial year. It's pretty awesome. Like we've got spread literally across the country, like every state and territory, which is fucking awesome.
Mate, fuck that joke that you did.
I did a good joke at the grain growers.
He never has any good jokes.
What'd you say?
Oh fuck, hang on. I'll pull the map up.
There's a map, and there's a map, and we had it up on the big screen there, obviously. And I'm like,
there's
we've got
dots all around Australia, mostly on the east coast, but there's like you see them all around Australia.
And there's a dot right at the tip of Cape York, and I was like, oh, fucks me, who called? They must have had a flat tire or something. I'm like, they must have had a flat tire and couldn't get onto anyone, so they rang TX. But anyway, but
I still remember the number from your jingle there, Dan, last time.
What is your jingle?
0488 469 88.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
That's good. That's great. That's good to know. Yeah,
why don't we get that jingle happening?
Well, yeah. I mean,
you made it up on the spot, I reckon, that time.
Yeah, and then that's always stuck with me. But that's the whole point of jingles.
It's in my head.
13, 13, 32.
Is that pizza?
Lubemobile, mate. Fuck. Are you shitting me?
Wow.
Gonna Lubemobile, bro.
Jeez,
I know that jingle. I think that's the whole thing with jingles, isn't it? They just fucking earworm.
But the big thing with the
there.
TX side is the amount of data now that we're collecting, because we invested like a heap of money into de-identified data basically. So if anyone calls, your private information's not passed on. It's just you're a male, age bracket, location, occupation, XYZ. Because
cool. Here you go. Here's the map.
That's there's Cape York at the top there.
Cape York at the top little.
Yeah. But
so we are getting a good spread. Obviously, East Coast is
nationally
high,
it's great.
Yeah, national, but it's
unreal.
But what we've noticed, like for us to be able to progress the charity forward and get further funding, is like our revenue driver is data.
Yeah.
So we can't collect data. Well, how do we prove anything to any potential donor, right? So in regards to rural Australia, we'll have to pull up the occupation stuff and let you know, because we would have all that in there, like anyone rural remote, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're checking out occupation. So everything de-identified, age, gender, location, all that kind of stuff.
The leading reason for people calling us relationships.
Really?
Yeah. That's a leading symptom for people to reach out to us.
God, I don't think I've been calling you guys.
Yeah, so, mate, it's good, eh? Like it's really interesting.
Anecdotally, like I feel like it's when people have got issues in their relationship, they're like, "Fuck, what's going on at home? Like nothing's right." But there's obviously always all these other issues, contributing factors. Financial stress, whether you out up the piss or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever else is going on, and the main symptom comes out in your relationship, right? And then they dive into that and find out that there's a whole lot of other things in your life that are sort of causing this symptom to get worse. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think people ring up and they're just like, fuck, I don't know what's going on, but my relationship's fucked, So, yeah.
It is interesting. It's so good. Like 1,700% increase in call volumes last financial year. 1,700%.
Yeah, I said yesterday at Henley Homes, I was like, if we were a for-profit business, we'd be on a fucking yacht.
Yeah, we have a camo somewhere. So it's really
last year was the growth year for TX for sure. So it's just like,
and so like off the back of that, how many people have you guys got now answering calls?
I think we had 12. We got 12 counsellors.
12.
Yeah.
So we've got a. So, yeah, mate, for us, like, the big thing has been, like, just establishing a process, and figuring out how to best service the community. And that's, like, we never want to be a 24-hour service, because we're sort of doing, early to mid, well, not sort of, we are early to mid-level intervention. There's plenty of cross-support services. We're trying to get further up the stream. Mm-hmm. So part of that is, well, there's no point being 24 hours a day, because you want people just to be able to ring up whenever you want. It's got to be a sort of a proactive decision to call up and book an appointment. It's still free, but you got to actually get in there and do it. So a triage system as well, so that chat to a triage person who answers the call, and they kind of figure out sort of where you're at in the scheme of things and how urgent your need is and that kind of thing. So you're booked into a slot that suits you and that kind of stuff.
And also making sure that people, it's funny, there was someone that commented the other day that was turned away from TX, and it was like put in another direction of wherever to go, because from what it sounded like in their comment, they're just ringing up for like a bit of a chat. And it's like, well, yeah, chatting's good, but we're also trying to get you from not needing to talk to us. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a relationship that has an ending.
Yep.
It can start again, but there's a beginning, which is I need you and for X, Y, Z or what's happening, or actually just finding out why I needed to call, and then going from there to I no longer need this because you've improved me or I've gotten better, or you haven't improved me and I need to go somewhere else for further help. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's literally just that funnel. Hey,
Yeah.
you guys sit somewhere in there and you either go back in the top and you come back into us.
Because we're not,
Then
we're not for everyone, and that's the point, right? Because we can't be for everyone, and it's like there's a person that's called Kids Help. Was it like 10,000 times?
Yeah, there was.
Fucking 10,000 times.
We
But
did
just
it-
ring up, just
one person.
Yeah, but they're just they just ring up for a yarn because they're lonely, right? And that's cool, but that's not what we do. It's like that. We're not there to be so much someone's friend, right? We're there to be someone's counselor. Like
And I think that's a big part of managing expectations as well. It's like you're here now. You're not going to be stuck here forever. Whatever emotional, psychological state you're in, it's like you're here, and we want to actively get you to here. And this is the process that we're going to follow to do that. So it's kind of like mapping out that journey, so that people understand there's going to be a solution here. You know,
this relationship has an end date. We just got to find out when it is.
Yeah.
You know, which is again, like when you're trying to.
It's hard. Like it's a juggling act, isn't it? But then it's also too. At least that way, you know,
Gotta set
this is what you do.
expectations. Yeah.
That's what you do, and then you actually can have a real impact. Because otherwise, if you try and be everything to everyone, you just end up.
Well,
all
it
over the
also,
shop.
but you've also we've also. I mean, we talk about it as if we're doing it, like we're just fucking like
we
we're
don't
not
answer the
counsellors.
phone.
We don't answer the phone.
We've got
But-
this is the thing we talk about, and we're both on our own mental health plans at the moment. We've both got our own psychologists. We can't use our own people because we pay them; they work for us, and so we're out
It's like
providing this to the community, and then we're like got
paying
our
for
own
it
thing going
ourselves.
on. So
Fucking
it's like-
weird. Anyway, so like raise like literally like millions of dollars for free care, but we got to go pay our own money. Anyway, it's funny. Write a book about it one day. But
Watch this space.
watch your space. But that's that level of maintaining your lane, you know. And it's the same thing. Like people like, oh, you come out and we want to do site barbecues or whatever. Talk to our team. It's like, well, no, we don't. Like TradeMutt has work shirts and you wear them and you start conversations. And TX is a free telehealth text and call service. They don't come out and talk to your team because of X, Y, and Z. And when you can explain that to people, they go, oh yeah, makes sense. It's just that education.
It
piece.
is hard. It's been hard though, like establishing what you are to who. You know what I mean? Like actually figuring that out.
And how long do you reckon? Because I was saying to Ed on my way in, and I was like, I'm still like, I'm juggling this piece. Like, so Humans Bag's been around for like 3 years, and now it's like, okay, cool, we've got whatever. So across the platforms, 30,000 people, but it's like, what do the next 30,000 look like, and who do I really want that to be? Like, these are the demographics. I've got all the data on who they are now, but like, who are we trying to talk to? Who's your audience? Who are your customers, etc. Like,
Well, the irony is they sort of come to you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
the
I think-
irony is, like, you can try and be like, we've tried to do that, and we're like, well, we're trying to talk to these people, but it doesn't. They just navigate toward you if they take up what you like. Like, we've got a pretty broad range of people that follow TradeMutt. So when we first started, we were like,
Who aren't even tradies.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
they
We've
don't even
got a
trade
huge
people.
community that aren't even tradies, and we're like, well, who actually is our customer, our audience now? Like healthcare professionals, teachers, just white collar
Everyone.
workers, anyone. Like
Yeah.
they just resonate with the cause and the concept.
I think the most important part is whatever you're doing, you need to maintain the passion for it, right? So like whatever you do that you're like, this is what I fucking do. It's like I tell stories about people in agriculture and you maintain passion about that. Other people will be like, I want to hear these stories. Do you know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then it passes on. It's the same. It's like those sorts of, and obviously within the media with what you're doing, people then pass that on. It's like, hey, this is a great bit of content, or I heard this great story, or whatever. They pass it on to their mates, and it sort of floods out that way. It's not sort of putting it all up in lights. I mean, like, this is the next thing. It's sort of like it just happens like organically and floods out.
Yeah, because like to this point right now, there's no way that any of this was part of the plan, really. You know what I mean? Like we literally started with 1,500 work shirts and spent all our cash on it. Like there was no plan to have 12 counsellors. We've just had
Do a
almost
podcast.
9,500
Build a
people
studio.
come through. Yeah, or like any of it. You know what I
Get
mean?
painted naked.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, I mean, no, that was planned. That was part of it.
That was
It's a
part of the
long-term
plan.
vision.
That was part of the
5-year plan.
Yeah, so-
Get into naked painting.
And I think that's probably been one of the biggest lessons because we've made so many mistakes. We've fucked up so much stuff for sure. Had a lot of
Fuck up
wins.
all the time.
Yeah, and
All the time.
But like, and I think that's part of why the cliche of the journey or whatever.
Yeah.
It is very true. Like
Oh,
you
for
just
sure.
sort of put yourself out there, and it kind of one thing leads to the next, and the people kind of
Yeah.
gather around.
And I think the big thing, obviously, for what you're doing is just telling it how it is. You know what I mean? Like, this is it, and it's just like it's like really hard to hear, or it's really awesome to hear, but it's like that's what's actually happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that I think that's what people.
Well, I reckon like one thing I love. So when I do a story on someone, and Facebook's cooler than any other platform because you can see where it's shared to.
Yeah.
And often, like, it might only get a few shares or it might get a few hundred or whatever, like, but you go back and so when that person shares it on their own platform and tagging it or whatever, and you look at the comments and it's like, you just have just such a cool little feel-good moment where it's like, so proud of you, love that you're doing this, I had no idea you're doing this. Like, you straight away from someone, literally all we're doing is just going, here, let's just have a chat, we'll create a bit of a story around it. You've then reconnected or created connections between their existing network and a whole bunch of people who actually have no idea about that person but now know something about them.
Yeah, a bit more intimate details.
That is one of the coolest things about Facebook, isn't it? It's different to TikTok and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Like, that ability to share and find out new things like that really is good with people that you're connected to. And you need those little dopamine hits from knowing that people actually give a shit.
Fuck, yeah.
Because that's the only proof point that you've got, really.
Literally.
Like, well, yeah, it's probably the biggest one, and like that's what kind of keeps, people like you and us and whoever going,
Yeah.
Who's the well, not to make your pick from all your 300 people.
Yeah,
you've done stories on,
stories,
but like,
man.
what's the biggest? Well, the hardest or best story you've done, the one that stuck with you. Like, what's that story?
I haven't covered any dirt, any.
Any dirt? Jeez, I don't know about that. I'll come back to you on that, Dan.
But is there one that's like that?
I'll try and make something up here in the next 5 minutes.
Don't do that.
Was there one that was like that was a good one? Like, you really enjoyed that one? Is there one that stands out?
Oh, I think there's so many in terms of like every conversation I've ever had, and that's where I guess to your point around the passion, there's something I really want to know about that person. So the very first conversation I ever had was with Mark LeBroy, the chef, and I wanted to know more about like that chef side of things, and I wanted to know about his hunting and how like when they're the chef, how do they go about sourcing all the information, sourcing the food, and then transferring that to consumers. So that was like where it all began, and I was just like so fascinated by his thinking and how he thought of like multinationals and how he went and hunted his own meat for his family and whatever else. Then I reckon. Like Sam Fry's, so as part of the series we did with you guys, Sam
Dizzle.
Fryer,
Legend.
That was really cool. Yeah, I think a cool part for me is actually just getting connected into people who, like, I feel like I know a little bit about. Like today, Troy Setter, CPC. I've seen Troy from the outside, but you actually get the chance to sit down with them and go, yes, we've got a podcast and there's people listening, but right now it's just two of us chatting.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about podcasts. It's like we'll have a conversation. I'll ask you things that I never would ask you if we didn't have the headphones or microphones in front of us.
Which is so fucking weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why do we do that?
It's our little shields, isn't it? These things.
Yeah.
Because you
Well,
feel brave. And then it's like, imagine we're sitting in here and then you've got 3,000 people sitting around listening to us, but we're just in this room. Like if we walked out that door and there's thousands of people and they're just... Like, that's what a podcast is.
I know, but you don't... because I noticed, like, well, we have fucking very deep chats.
The art of conversation. It literally is the art of conversation. It's instead of just like a passing, conversation or whatever that you.
Because
might
you're here
just
to have one.
Yeah, you're here to consciously sit down and converse. Like it's so you put the effort in.
It's sort of like a counselling session.
Oh, 100%.
It is.
Like the amount of times I've learned, like when it came to making a career decision or something, I'd be like, right, I'm not sure if I want to be in like a big company, so I'm going to go and chat to them, and I'm going to be like, oh, tell me, like, do you like director or CEO, I'll be like, do you ever think about like not being in this business? Like, do you ever just like, wake up in the morning and you're like, I don't want to be here. I want to go do something that has real purpose behind it. And then, yes, off some of those conversations, I actually talk about, well, yes, they're working for a big corporate, big organization, but then their purpose is actually about like building up their team members and seeing them come in and maybe resign or get like a step up, and actually where their fulfillment comes off actually growing other people. And you're like, oh. Like everyone just fills their cup up a different way.
Yeah, true. It is. It is interesting, isn't it? What people get up to. So what's Troy's thing? Is he, because he's obviously CEO like CPC, right?
Yeah. So like just chatting about like his journey. That's a big part of it. So I kind of, if I think when I'm sitting down with someone of like a circle. So yeah, little bit of a chin wag at the beginning. It's always the most awkward part of a podcast. Hey, like, oh, come back and do an intro later, and we'll work out what we start. But let's start, okay? And so a bit of a chit chat, like what's happening, and then go back to like where did this passion start for them? Like where did that first kind of love of agriculture come? And so for some people, it's through their dad or being out in the cattle yards or whatever it was in nature, and for others, it's kind of come to them later in life. And so from there, just start weaving and see where we go.
I think it's interesting, like even passions. I was only chatting to my wife about this the other day because when we went out to camp space at Mooney and stuff, I was jealous of him. I was like, fuck, this is what I would love to be doing.
How much turf did he have?
Oh, he's managing. Oh, he did tell me. I think it's like 6,500 acres. He's managing at Mooney.
No, but how about like for
grass?
Lawn
Oh, there's plenty. Yeah, he's got a fucking ride on there. Don't worry. He's got a ride on going. Yeah, great big lawn. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, maybe you can start there.
Exactly. But I was like, that lifestyle. It's like, because I had that passion originally, but like I actually had to change mine. As I explained to my wife the other night, I was like, I had to actually change it and like suppress that passion of like the land because, I left and then I came to Brizzy and then I started a carpentry apprenticeship. So I couldn't be like doing this carpentry apprenticeship and being like, fuck, I'd love to be back on the land again, because it was like, that's what I've got to do now. So I've got to narrow this focus in. And then that passion then changed into like TradeMutt, obviously we're doing here now, but it's like, well, I still actually have that passion over there that I've been like pushing down for quite a while. And it's the same thing with you as well with like the documentary thing. You're like, I'm really, you know what I mean? It's like you've got these passions, but you can't.
Well, just like, I don't know, like that. I wouldn't say it's like it might be a passion. It's just something I like to try.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like
but
there's a bunch of things that, I don't think where anyone ever is at a point in time is where they're just, going to be forever. Like if you're not.
It's just an interesting one.
If you're not growing, you're dying kind of thing. And, I think you can be I think you can stagnate, for a while, or you can get comfortable. But I think it's also important to kind of try things and,
Totally.
'cause that's what it's all about.
Isn't it?
Like,
but it was
I think that's what fuels your imagination, though, isn't it? Like you mean like, oh, I'd love to do that. And that's like, I've got like a million ideas, probably the same as you guys. But I reckon like when you're jumping in and doing your own thing, you're like, oh, I'm going to do this because I actually genuinely want to do it. Whereas what I found when I was working for a salary, like I really invested myself in like those businesses and stuff, but did I absolutely love it? Like definitely when I had Humans of Ag on the side, no way. I was constantly thinking about this thing all day, every day.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's part of it.
The stepping stones are a big part of it for sure. Like you can't always just be in a place where you're like, fuck yeah, I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. This is fucking great. You know what I mean? Like you need the stepping stones to be like, actually, this is not what I'm about, and that's where you sort of explore where you want to go. And I think it's very important to keep that imagination alive.
Totally.
And also too, like I bloody love farming. Would I want to farm every day? No, probably not. I don't know. But like,
do you want to farm? Like, do you actually want to? Would you do it?
Well, like, I'd say probably at this point in time, no. Only because I've got that choice that if I really wanted to do it, I probably would do it. Whereas like I see like such an opportunity in an area which I can have like a significant impact in, and I'm bloody passionate about it, and I love talking to people. And it's like, how do we help promote the industry? Like it's this area which exists that if I was inside the farm gate doing that every single day, I probably wouldn't get the chance to do that. So
yeah, and it's kind of funny, like media companies or any brand, any success story or whatever, they always just start out. It's got to start somewhere. Like give it 20 years and it's be the next bloody Murdoch. Maybe not so much like that, but
phone taps and all that.
That's just how it's. It's
and we'll just make it my last name so everyone knows how to say it.
Yeah, there you go. You need to have the brackets outside of it, the pronunciation brackets.
like what's on a tree.
Yeah. Like you see in a dictionary.
Multiple. Yes. So have like a little bit of a riddle to it.
Far out. Well, mate, how are we going for time, DK?
About an hour.
We're good? We're good for time? How, so
where to next? What's going on?
Oh, this is the part which I'm trying to work out. So,
fuck, aren't we all?
Yeah,
give me something.
No, so we've obviously been doing the podcast now for it'll be 3 years.
How many episodes have you done? 300.
Nah, 130 something.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so plugging away.
There's a lot goes into it. Like fucking heaps. I think
you're
people don't
videoing
realise
it now too, aren't you?
Yeah, so video is part of it. So I guess trying to when we say like a media brand, it is so Humans of Ag's definitely like a brand in itself. Probably how I set it up. I don't want to bastardize that Humans of Ag brand. I wanted to keep it like super authentic. It's always about people, faces, experiences, blah blah blah. So that's one part. But then on the other side, I really want to play into probably more of this like education space. So yeah, there is existing video like Landline, Muster Dogs on the ABC did hugely successful, but I reckon there's a bit of a mixture between say like a Dirty Jobs. You know, if you throw things out into the universe, it comes true. So like a mixture of Dirty Jobs. So let's go into a day in the life, but imagine all the different roles you could do in ag, but you actually could take people along with you for it. So maybe that's where like the city audience comes into it. We take a different person or a couple of different people and go, look, let's go and work on a pig farm. Let's go and do this.
Yeah.
See what it's like.
I was chatting to, her name escapes me. Fuck. She works for the ABC out in Longreach. And it was when
Can't help you.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. I was flying back out there.
Oh, we've done it. Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about as well. Sorry.
Anyway, it's Nicole. Is it Nicole?
Yes, it is.
And she was talking about a similar type thing, but just for like Longreach is a rural community. She was trying to get a TV show together where they'd move like, you know, a married couple, like a gay couple, a single mum with kids, and like a retired couple, whatever, out into, you know, regional Australia, into Longreach or whatever.
Yeah.
And put them up there for like, you know, 12 months or 2 years, or like a business owner or whatever, and move them out there and then just document it and be like, what happened? You know what I mean? How did this go? Because she's like,
Like their journey into like assimilating into the town.
As in coming from like a city with like from, you know, different stereotypes of people within the city and moving to a regional country town with their own preconceived conceptions of how it would be.
How do you reckon the Longreach Mardi Gras would go?
Fuck, mate. I don't know. Longreach is a fucking strange town. Anyway.
Ross is moving back.
I'm back, yeah. No, my favourite pub burnt down. But
Public too now.
But how, people then, you know, join local sporting clubs, and like all of a sudden, like the sort of the lid is lifted off, and it's like the inner workings of, everyone out there's people too, and they go through similar trials and tribulations and what goes on, but it's actually a smaller, tighter knit community, and people are actually there, and you know your neighbour, and you fucking go, you know what I mean? It's you drop your kids off at school, but then you're also seeing those same people at the IGA, and when you fuel your car up, and they're on the rugby league committee or whatever, and you know, go fishing on the weekend, or you go down the ski club, and it's like, it's actually just, you know, people do talk about a little country town. It's what it is. Everyone's there to help one another. So that was an idea she was going to try and get, which was going to cost heaps apparently to get it going. But interesting,
Just
you know,
relocating a few families.
but those sorts of things, because even like the Matty Wright stuff, like, you know, it's
it's
blowing
bananas.
up, right? Matty Wright, which is awesome. And then it's
Have you had him on?
no. We wish it'd be great too.
Devastated about Willow though. Willow was Willow was a huge TradeMutter. Was on the face on with him last year, and his family and his kids all wearing TradeMutt. I was just absolutely gutted by that. That was the same week as Warnie.
That's right. Fuck.
Which just absolutely tragic, you know. Died doing what he loved, obviously, but I don't know. That was a really hard week to process, mate.
Freak
Fucking
accident.
hell,
There's been some tough weeks this year.
Yeah.
But it's those, because, you know, even was it Troy Dan back in the day? Was it Troy Dan? Mate,
I used to be obsessed with him.
Yeah, same. But like that's the thing, right? Like people do engage in that Western, that, you know, rural outback content. It's just finding-
Malcolm Douglas was the man. You remember Malcolm Douglas?
Yeah. I've got a story about Malcolm Douglas, but I'll talk about it off air.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I won't be fucking raising it on air, I can tell you.
It's a bit disappointing.
Mate, hey,
Sorry.
inner sanctum, boys, inner sanctum.
Listeners out there, wow.
But yeah, all right. How are we feeling?
Yeah, pretty good.
We happy?
I'm soaked.
Is there anything, mate? How can listeners get in touch with you? How can they hear more?
Well, I reckon just, on your favourite podcast app, search Humans of Agriculture, or jump over to our Instagram. Instagram's probably like the hub. We started to play a little bit of TikTok, but God, I hate to love it, but like it's... Yeah. Sorry, no. I love to hate it. I'm not sure. One of the two. So check us out on Instagram. And I guess if any of your listeners have stories to share, we're always looking out for more. So if you've got a story or know someone who does, get in touch.
Thanks, mate. Really appreciate your time.
Great to see you, mate.
Thanks, fellas.
Cheers, bro. How's that? Okay, good. Awesome.
If I stop, I'll die.